Go ahead, Joel, if you will. Give us the introduction.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to the interview tonight. My name is Editor for Life, and with me is Mohawk Mike and FourCourtJester. And me and Mike tonight will be interviewing him for Boss Fight TV. So, Jester, if you would, please give us just a little introduction about yourself and how you got into casting.
Well, I'm the FourCourtJester, and I've been doing casting for 2 years almost now. About a year and a half. It was May 2010, I believe. And how I got into it is kind of a combination of Major League Gaming as well as Honcast, which does all the premiere work for Houston North. So what it was is I was moving into my new house, and you got to put on something when you're unpacking all the boxes. Music didn't really get it for me. There was no D that weekend. I was very sad because I wasn't watching it, but maybe I could hear it. So watching the World of Warcraft stuff and just the energy and the positive feelings that you got out of just listening, because I couldn't watch at the time, was just, I don't know, something started going through my head. And then I got into the beta a few months. Actually, that month they came out into beta because I moved in July, I believe. And Honcast was the only people in town doing it. And I was like, hey, I play that game. I know quite a bit about it. And I can do that. And then there was a lot of fire and hate and growth. But, you just keep on. And here I am, 2 years almost later.
Awesome. I had no idea you actually got started with Han. And you said you were watching World of Warcraft. Were you ever into World of Warcraft at all before you were casting mobile games?
Oh, man.
Those dark days that none of us speak about that we've all been through. Yeah. So I think you've recently just kind of stated sort of on and off that you're mainly into League of Legends now. Why is that?
Well, really, more than it started off with areas that were great community for legends, to start off to get your brand going, have some forums, beautiful stuff, and stuff. It's a big war. So literally, they partnered up with SG Games, and they were given such preferential treatment, and it just really, really irked me. Apparently, they can't hear me, by the way.
Oh, well, I can hear you most of the time.
Your robot impression.
Good old internet. Do you want me to keep going? I can keep going.
Yes, please. I can hear most of it, so.
All right. And let's see. Casting War, they were partnered up. So we're getting the scraps, right? We were a community site. We were just doing this out of the goodness of my heart. I was doing some months 30 casts a month, which is one cast a day. And we were just doing it out of the goodness of our heart. They were in it for money. So that really creates a big friction. It created a lot of wars between people. And really, it just came to a point where it was like, well, why would I continue doing this? At least that's my personal thought. So, but Dota 2 was still like a foggy memory. It's just like nobody was even posted at that point. Could go back to Dota, but now that I've been into Han so much, I just really don't remember much of Dota. So it's like, well, the only other thing out there is League of Legends. Did that with StarCraft 2? That's a whole nother arena. That's like going from a place where there's only two of you to a place where there's 1,000. So, League of Legends. All right, I can do that. You get into it. Oh, they don't have stuff. Right. So what do? You do 4v4. That's how I learned how to cast League of Legends. There's 4v4 mentality. And I started with it. And so far, I think it was the better move.
Awesome. What do you think of League of Legends through Riot and the whole community, even outside of competitive gaming? I know there's a ton of arguments in between the different MOBA games. And how do you think League handles all this? Are they a responsible group, or do Do you think they kind of delve into the darker side of causing some of the arguments and some of the stir-ups in the community?
No matter what game you play, if there's a competing game, you're always going to have two sides. You're going to have the zealots, you're going to have the fanboys, the peacemakers, the people just trying to bridge the community, which is what I was trying to do. For a while there, I ran a series of getting Han players into LoL and LoL players into Han, but there's a lot of friction, and there's a lot of... The Internet's a big place. I mean, you can't ever believe anything you hear on the Internet, but a lot of people do. So there's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of prejudices. Apparently I can't say that word tonight. There's a lot of prejudice. I'll give up. Anyways, there's a lot of hate. So you got to deal with it. And it's easy at some points, and it's really not at others. It really depends on what the day of the week and what they're hating on. But I don't know. League starts a lot of wars. The zealots on the league side are like, best game ever. I've spent $10,000 on this game. Why the hell would I play anything else? It's all trash. Blah, blah, blah. There are those people. But then there's the other people, like from Heroes of Newer. It's like, why the hell would I play an easier game? There's an easy mode in my game. I don't play it because it sucks, so therefore I won't play League of Legends because it sucks. And then there's another side of Dota, but they're a much more recent entry into everything. But there's always going to be the zealots, and really, I just try to avoid them. Like, if you want to have serious discussions like what we do on Mobile Weekly, where we talk about all the games, and we compare, and we look at everything sanely and rationally, there's no flame wars, that's the kind of stuff you need to foster if you want to have good relationships between the games. I don't think the companies care about the good relationships with the games, and most players don't play more than one anyways, which is a sad fact. So, yeah, League will start a lot, Han will start a lot, StarCraft starts a ton, especially with the streaming numbers these days. But, I mean, we're going to get that no matter where we go.
Let me go ahead and I want to jump in there because that's actually a good segue into one of the main questions I had. As you mentioned, you do Mobile Weekly, which is through Complexity. If you guys haven't seen that before, it's an awesome show, and it really is. It's a community effort from all angles. But then you also have kind of like the other, just like other titles have, kind of like how Call of Duty has Weekly Warfare and Counter-Strike, they have Reload and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that these community shows like that, or for instance, like with League of Legends, State of the League, do you think that's really what is fostering the competitive scene, or do you think it is just the community naturally just getting bigger?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. At some point, people are going to want more content. And it's not necessarily more gameplay. Because if you want to watch gameplay, you can go watch your pro. You can go watch your favorite pro, your favorite caster, your favorite movie producer. But for some players, they want to get inside the heads of these players. They want to talk to them on a human level, not as a pro level. So talk shows that because you get like one situation where even sometimes you get even audience interaction. The other end, for example, is like we have a phone segment. You just phone man and talk to him. Like, it's that easy. You can do that. And people love that. They love to connect on a personal level with these people. And isn't that what TV talk shows do? Look at the Late Night with Letterman, right? He brings on, who was it on last night, like J-Lo or something. And you just talk to them one-on-one. You get their opinions, and it's just, there's no pressure. There's no Hollywood. There's no razzle-dazzle. It's just personal. And people love to get to that personal level. So I think it is a much needed force, and I think it's a very positive force.
Okay. How do you feel Riot as themselves do with connecting on a lower base, on a personal level with the competitors and just the players of League of Legends as a whole? Do you think they do a good job of listening in to what the community has as ideas for their game? As it's still a new game and it's still growing, but it's growing so rapidly. Are they doing a good job keeping up with the growing numbers and what the community wants?
Hold on just a second. We actually have Josh, aka Anti-Pro, our production manager, is frantically. He's going to turn off the videos. So what's going on is I think it's a little choppy on everybody's end. So rather than hearing like robot voices, we'll just drop the video. Go right into it. So cue the elevator music. But in the meantime, if any of you guys have any questions that you wanna have answered, go ahead and let us know in the chat, or send us one of those amazing tweets that I hear so much about. I don't know how you do that, but just send it out. I know it's fair. All right, start back up again. Joel, go ahead and reiterate what the question was.
Basically what I was asking is how you think Riot does themselves listening to the community, kind of like you said, connecting on a personal level. How do you feel they do connecting on a personal level with their community that is rapidly growing, even though they still kind of are a new gaming company?
So when I was starting off with League of Legends, I was still doing a lot of... That's an awesome picture for Antidote for Life, by the way.
Oh, that's awesome.
I've seen that guy in videos. Anyways, when we went between Han and LoL, I would frequently say this, and a lot of people agreed, League of Legends is fantastic at marketing. But when it comes to actual gameplay, and I mean, we've all been through a lot of the bugs and everything, they just weren't really up to par. I mean, they use Adobe Air for their launching client, and a lot of people hate it. Heroes of Newerth, though, very solid programming, except for the the S2 error. But they're always coming up with new features. They've redesigned so much. It's all in C#, but they're terrible at marketing. So on a term of connecting to your fan base, or even a prospective fan base, League of Legends has done much, much better. And you can see that with their user base. Something like, 4 million unique people log in to play every day. I don't think you could claim anywhere close to that for Heroes of Newerth. And I remember it took almost a year just to foster about 1 million accounts on Heroes of Newerth. So in terms of the prospective marketing and connecting and bringing in a prospective player and then keeping them there, they do an excellent job. They're very fantastic at that. And they're always giving out new content, new videos. I mean, they got themselves a nice full-fledged video team. Freak, of course, the voice of it. You just hear his voice and people just go into a coma, and they're like, "Oh man, it's Freak so good." But they do a fantastic job. But that comes with its own pitfalls, right? So, we get the people in. They're like, "Yeah, you can buy RP, you can buy IP. We release a hero every 2 weeks. We got a new map coming. We got new versions, right?" But how much have they really delivered? We don't have a new map, unless you count Dominion, which I don't. I was talking more about Magma Chamber. Dominion kind of came out of nowhere. And when is enough going to be enough for heroes? Like, do you have to keep up to hero every 2 weeks? When do you stop? When do you run out of ideas? When do you start recombining ideas? Because as good as they are at marketing, I mean, there's good marketing and bad marketing. Even if they're doing fantastic marketing for the last 3 years, they're going to run out of ideas eventually. So I don't know how much longer they're going to be able to keep up that kind of production. And there's the whole competitive and esports side to it as well. But in terms of, connecting to their players, taking care of their requests, and, they take a lot of bug reports, and they do fix a lot of bugs. I think they're superb on that front.
I agree completely. The whole Dominion and adding a new champions thing, is that kind of a reflection of their marketing strategy to pull in new people? I mean, that was a big thing when they released Dominion and even had sort of a beta testing for it. That drawn a lot of attention. Same with new champions. Is that what you feel is just their marketing ploy to kind of pull in the revenue they need to keep the game going? Or do you think they'll eventually reach a point where they won't need that anymore?
Well, it is part of the whole thing of League of Legends. It keeps it fresh. It keeps it new. There's always new stuff to do, and that is very akin to an MMO. Look at World of Warcraft, right? Level 60, cool. They had to keep releasing new dungeons. When that wasn't enough, just release a new expansion. Now they're trying to crank out an expansion every 2 years, and their player base is getting bored. I think it's a perfect example. They're like, "Oh man, I keep leveling it up. I get more powerful." And then I'm done the content in a week, and I got to wait 2 years. That's World of Warcraft has such a good thing going, but now you can see people nodding off. They've lost 2 million subscribers in the last year alone, and before that even just more, they always drop off before an expansion, and then their numbers rise. They're like, yeah, something new, and then it drops off, and new expansion. They have to keep it going because otherwise it's going to be a dead game. Now, I see League of Legends as a very similar concept. We have talent trees. We have runes. We don't exactly have armors or weapons, but we have runes. It's pretty much the same deal. And they keep cranking out new material. What is going to be our critical point for that new material? And when are we going to start getting bored with that and we're going to tell them slow down? Now, thankfully, they make a lot of money off it, so I don't see that, them stopping production anytime. Because also when they stop production, how are they going to keep making their money? It's a free-to-play game.
So let me just grind that down a little bit. You're saying that if League of Legends is ever in trouble, they just need to add pandas? Did I get that right?
I think people would jump at that. I mean, every new hero, how many tens of thousands of people buy it, even if it's no good? Right?
That's true. Josh had that experience when I played with him the other day.
You got to keep the game fresh. That's how they've been doing it for the last 2 years. And they need to keep interesting content for people to buy. Otherwise, where's their money going to come from?
Mm-hmm. And I agree. And do you feel Dota 2 and even Blizzard Dota have a chance of pulling away a good large number of the population from League of Legends? I mean, Blizzard has already stated that they're making a Dota game that's going to be not really a competitive type, but something that everybody can get into that could pull away the people that aren't so much into the competitive thing. They just want to play it for fun. And Dota 2, while it had a good following in Dota 1, it's coming back, and it feels like more of a competitive game. It feels like they're more focused on the competitivity of it more than a marketing ploy of a new champion every 2 weeks. I mean, Dota 2, even in the beta form, they haven't even released all the champions yet. There's been rumors that they are going to have such things such as like TF2 hats to add into the game and different weapons, just model characterizations that you can alter with money of your own, sort of kind of like what Riot does with skins and that sort of thing. Do you think either one of those, when they come out, could pull enough numbers away from League to do anything serious to it, or do you think we'll always have League of Legends?
I remember how we went back to like one of those early questions where we said, does League of Legends start a lot of hate? Does Heroes of Newer start a lot of hate? How do you deal with that? There's a ton of hate between these games. There are in the global scheme of things, there are so few people that will actually play more than one of these titles. And it's kind of like StarCraft in a little bit, because StarCraft says, we are esports, we're the big top dog. And they were like, well, we have great stream numbers on League of Legends. Like, yeah, but you're League of Legends. We're StarCraft. Everyone has that entitlement of, I play StarCraft, I don't play anything else. I play League of Legends, I don't play anything else. Which, as Day 9 touched upon last week on State of the League, it's like, why has that come about? Why is that a thing? Because there's a bazillion games in the world. I mean, I don't actually play Heroes of Newer really anymore, but I've been playing Dota 2. I've been playing League of Legends. I have an Xbox. I like playing with it. I play a lot of different games. But in terms of when Dota 2 comes out, I'd be very surprised if they took even 10% of League of Legends away. There is just such a huge difference between Dota 2 and League of Legends because they've been engineered that way. Dota 2, in case anybody has silly ideas about this, is going to just be Dota. Like, there's nothing new.
No!
You would be surprised how many people I talk to. They're like, oh, man, I tried Dota 2. I'm like, so did you like it? It's like, well, no, I didn't like Dota 1. I said, well, why the hell did you try Dota 2? It's like, I thought it would be different. Like, where did you get that idea? They have publicly said many, many, many times, it's Dota. It is Ice Frog's baby coming over to Valve. Valve is throwing money at it, just like what we did with Heroes of Newerth. Heroes of Newerth, based upon Dota, just in its own engine. Now, of course, there was a lawsuit, and Heroes of Newerth is now its own beast, which is good. You need that differentiation to, grab your different groups. But League of Legends, I mean, they just said, screw that. We're going to make our own engine, and we're going to make our own rules and our own rule sets and our own abilities. And so it is very, very, very much different than what it used to be when Pendragon and an Ice Frog used to work together for Dota. So there is like no love between these two communities whatsoever. In the terms of in the competitive scene, I tried to get solo mid to play in a Dota 2 tournament once. And Reginald told me straight up, why the hell would I do that? These are teams that play in Dota 2. They know the game a lot better than us. We play League. Why the hell would I go play a Dota 2 tournament and embarrass myself? He said that to me. So I really cannot see Dota 2 taking really any huge chunk of the League of Legenders. Even in the competitive scene. Like, what? CLG just today. Kings of Europe over in EU. CLG EU. They won a pittance of money, but there were 75,000 people watching it, and they're going to be having that to their name from now on. Why would they throw that away for Dota 2, which admittedly is not really pulling in the big stream numbers? Like, to a lot of these pros, there's not really that many tournaments to go to, but even if there are, they make so much money off of streaming that I don't see why they would forsake that for Dota 2. I really don't see these two communities ever really clicking or gelling or stealing from each other. It's just not going to work. In terms of the freemium thing, the Blizzard Dota, you need StarCraft 2 to play that, which costs money because it's not free. So if you don't own it, you're probably not going to buy StarCraft just to play Dota Blizzard. Probably not. I don't really see that happening. You might drop $1,000 on skins, but why would I get StarCraft 2? You know, that's kind of the thing that I get when I ask people that kind of stuff. The Blizzard Dota does look very casual at this point, but we don't exactly have a huge amount of details. We're probably going to get a lot more closer to the heart of Swarm release, but I don't know. I don't see really a huge crossover anymore between these communities.
That's a very good point. I mean, even Dota 2, it still seems to be that it's the same people from Dota 1, just they're kind of now emerging into a more popular arena for themselves, especially with Valve heading that. And speaking of all the tension in between them, even the companies have tensions, and I want to ask your personal opinion on this. Do you actually believe anyone has a right to the name Dota?
Anyone specific or any of the companies?
Kind of like the big ordeal where everybody was wanting some of the companies where they were like, hey, that's our name and this is why. And then another company was like, well, not really, because that's ours first. Do you actually believe any company has the right to that name?
Any company, no, but I think if you ask anyone in the Dota scene, they will say it is IceFrog's baby. He named the damn thing, and he's been supporting it for umpteen numbers of years. If there's anybody deserving to own it, it would definitely be IceFrog. Now, I do remember when Valve tried to file the trademark, and I laughed my ass off. I was like, look at this. Just because they're employing IceFrog, they want to make it their own thing. I don't think they actually did. But if I had to give it to anyone, it would definitely be IceFrog.
So you wouldn't give it to anyone such as like Ginsu or anybody like that?
Well, that's the thing. They didn't work on the All-Star version that I can remember. I could be wrong on that, but the All-Star version is the one that survived throughout the years, and there's only one credit on it, and it's IceFrog.
Okay.
The original Dota, sure, for like Warcraft 3 Reign of Chaos.
The one where it was all one lane, even?
Well, that was even before Frozen Throne, and that's where a lot of the new triggers came in for all those new spells, and that's why All Stars was so very popular because IceFrog had a way with them so very nicely. Of course, when the new patches came out, like stuns would stun forever, it was him that was fixing that kind of stuff. I didn't see Pendragon or really Ginsu around. So, I mean, yes, they have credit for creating the game, but I don't know. If you create a movie and then... Okay, man, that's about it. If you create a game and then you leave the company, yes, you get credit for it, but the people that stayed with that company for 10 years are the people that are going to come to your first and foremost in your mind as saying, yeah, this was them, right?
Except in the exception of Duke Nukem Forever. Because I don't think anybody wants to own up.
Oh my god, let's not talk about Duke Nukem Forever.
It's one game I won't wait several years for. And then another heated problem is, actually, do you feel that either League of Legends or Dota 2 is a harder game?
You want me to compare the two in terms of hardness?
Do you feel that let me rephrase that. Do you feel they are two completely separate entities that shouldn't be compared to each other? Or do you feel that they're similar enough that someone can honestly and with good reason say that one game is harder than the other?
The only thing I can really think of as a good analogy here is Halo versus Call of Duty. They're both first-person shooters. They both have guns. They both have grenades. You can punch people in the face. You can stab people in the back. Sure, cool. But which game's harder? I mean, it's appealing to do two different communities again. There's a lot of people that played both. But in terms of hardness, I mean, it was point, shoot, and click. So to bring that here to this discussion, League of Legends, Dota, it's the same concepts. 3 lanes, heroes, kill the others, win the lane. So in that terms, people should have a really good idea of how to play either. But when it comes down to the fine niceties and getting to that high elo bracket, you know, they both have their challenges. In League of Legends, you have to know the meta. You have to know when to push, when not to push, when to ward, where to ward, you know, dragon timers, buff timers, baron timers, what items are really good for this patch. For Dota, it's lane phase, tri-lanes, you know, the 2-1-2, the junglers, Roshan. There's no real buffs to keep it in consideration, but you really have to get a nice gelling team. You have to learn how to last hit. You have to learn how to deny, how to stack jungle creeps, where to ward, rune spawns. So, you know, there's a lot of similarities, as in 3 lanes, kill the other heroes in base, but there's a lot of different points you have to master. And I think the more general public answer is that Dota 2 is harder because there are more mechanics to go through. But I've only ever known one player, to actually master pretty much every game, and that's Chu. Other than that, nobody else can really do what he's done. You can't go from a high tier Dota to high tier Han to high tier LoL. And now as Chu 8. So as you saw from him, he has now actually had to quit Dota and Han because that last experience of his with League of Legends drastically altered his play style. He honestly thinks he can no longer play at a high tier level of Dota or Han, so that's why he's now, you know, trying to go high elo LoL. So using his experiences, because I mean, I'm not high tier. Don't ever get me wrong on that. I'm never going to be high tier. I'm going to take his experiences and say because of that, LoL is easier, but that doesn't mean it's easy to become high elo.
Let's go ahead. There's actually a question in the chat from I Am Bogal. He says, which do you think, well, it just says, which would you think takes longer to master?
Longer to master?
I'm assuming let's just contrast all 3. Oh, that's a deep breath. Oh.
Yeah, thinking.
Philosophical question here.
Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and preface it. Let's build up to it. For someone who is brand new to the MOBA scene, doesn't know the history, hasn't played any of the games, which do you think has the easiest learning curve for them to get really hyped up about the game? And then from there, which one do you think they want to master, or which one do you think they're going to master?
Definitely the easiest one to get into without any kind of hate or prejudice or anything would be League of Legends. As I said, there's less mechanics, and that low elo stuff, a lot of people are pretty forgiving, except for the Smurfs, but who cares about Smurfs? Smurfs are another issue that all games have to address, but that's another topic. So I would say LoL is easy to get into, but there's also the problem if you want to go from LoL to Han or Dota, it's a very, very big uphill battle because now you just went and learned all that League of Legends. You learned their heroes, their items, all their skill levels, and now we're going to throw you into a hugely different world. Different stats, different heroes, different timings. And timings is really the big one. But believe it or not, people mention to me the most the graphics. They get used to LoL. Oh, it's nice and fun and cartoony. I can tell what people are. I can hover over them. They tell me what team they're on because it's red. You know, I got to stay away from him, or he's green. He's on my team, and I see their icons on the map, and they get really excited about that. And then I throw them over to Han, and they're like, "Oh my God, how do you tell anything apart here? I can't. Like team fights happen and stuff. I don't know. I died. I don't know where I went." Those are very common complaints, and that's the big one I get when I try to get my LoL buddies into Han or Dota. So there's a graphical issue, there's the meta issue, and there's the timing issue. Plus, after you learn all those heroes and all those items, guess what? Brand new palette. There's very big similarities, but a lot of people hate the Han shop. I'm not a big fan of the Dota shop, but at least it has a search function. I can literally type in what item I want in the Dota engine, and it brings it up for me, which is great. but you need to know what item you want. For a complete noob, no. Those shops, they're terrible. You'll hate them, and you're going to go back to League of Legends. And I've seen this time and time again. That's just simply how the people's brains work. Like, they learn something good, but you try to throw them into another engine where all the items are renamed, all the heroes are renamed. You can start seeing similarities if you keep with it, but very, very easy to jump into LoL. Just play and enjoy yourself. Han, the community has been legendary for being like scumbags and dirtbags and just really, really harsh on people. Same with Dota. I was in a Dota game the other day, and some guy recognized me. He's like, "Go back to LoL, you piece of trash." Like, game just started. I hadn't even said anything.
Wow.
And he opens up with that. So I beat him, and it was fun because he left. He rage quit. It was great. But that's the kind of community you're about to jump into. And that's another factor for some people. So if I had to recommend, if you want to play all three, you have to start with the harder and go to the easier. But if you are going to start with the easier, it's so much harder to get into Han and Dota from there. So much harder.
Yeah, you basically just summed that up perfectly how I feel about it. I mean, I'm more biased to Dota. I started with Dota, and Dota and Han community, if you're new to that game, there's no easy way to learn that other than just to get tossed around and smack talked for a good 100 games. Riot at least has, it's simple but still competitive, and I agree with that wholeheartedly.
It's the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. It works great.
It does.
Great.
It brings in a lot of people. It easily brings in a lot of people for them. But kind of going back to that, do you feel playing Han or Dota 2 to start off with makes it easier to go into League so much that even like Dota pros, if they wanted to, could come over to League and take tournaments off the League pros?
Take tournaments, no. I don't think they could take tournaments. But again, I'm going to refer back to my buddy Chew8. Chew8, Fuji Apples, are two of the pros that I actually have on my friends list. They're from Han. They used to play Dota. They also dabble in League, and they're 18, 19, 2000 rated. They play and go for lols. They play in small tournaments, but those high tier, they fall flat because they're so ingrained with, Han and Dota and all that. Again, it might be an easier game, but it is not easy to get to high elo. Our pros play, 15 hours a day, and they stream pretty much the majority of it. They know this game inside and out. Today, Jat, ex Dignitas? Yeah, ex Dignitas, Jat, scumbag Jat, right? He was commentating Kings of Europe, and everyone in all the IRC channels I was idling in at work were like, damn, this guy is so good at commentating because he has so much knowledge. If I got Chew8 or Fuji Apples up on there, they could give us good knowledge, but they can't give us the same level because they just know the game so much better than those crossover players. So they can get high, 18, 19, 2000, but they would likely never take a tournament game off of our top tier teams.
Okay. Do you actually feel playing more than one game is better to get good at them? Do you feel playing like Dota 2 and League of Legends makes you better at those games, or is it better just to stick to one to learn it?
If you're still learning, like you've never played anything before, just stick with one, because you do not want to overload your brain. It really sucks when that happens. Now, if you're playing League and you're bored with it, definitely try out Dota 2, see what happens. And, if you like that one more because of the different dynamics, the rune system, deny system, the new jungling system, the fundamental of jungling is just so different between the two games. Like, sure, there's creeps in the jungle. You kill them for experience. League of Legends, they give you buffs. They have set timers from death. And, they just recently remastered all of the jungling stuff. And they bank now. You can go counter. Dragon, global gold. We're like, oh, that's pretty awesome. Baron, more buffs. We don't have any of that in Han. In Han, creeps spawn every minute. If there's something there, they won't spawn because there's already something there. But that's where you can learn the technique called stacking. Whereas you attack them and run away at about the 52-second mark. They'll follow you for a bit, but then they'll return back home. But since there was no one there for that 1-minute timer mark, there are now creeps, which means you have successfully created 2 sets of creeps. And then you can do that a third time. It's called triple stacking. Then later, you give all that farm to your carry, and instead of destroying one creep camp that he wasn't even going to be there for the next 3 or 4 minutes anyways because he's in the lane, you've now created such a huge golden experience lead for that carry that it can easily snowball. Now, I guess I forget the original question, but the difference is no, don't play more than one if you're just getting into something. Just stick with one.
Okay. Also, going back to jungling, how do you feel? I know it's been a while, but how do you feel about the jungle remake that Riot did to their game? Do you feel it was a good change or one for the worse?
A lot of people said it was for the worst. A lot of people, and by a lot of people, I mean I hang out in like this Team Solo mid chats, the Counter Logic IRCs, Absolute Legends, the bigger IRC channels out there, and they always, and I always get to see exactly what their opinions are before I get home from work because they've deployed that patch that day and I'm at work for 10 hours. So I always get 10 hours of feedback before I get to jump into it. And a lot of people were saying, we hate it. We don't like it. Junglers are useless. Let's go back to 2-1-2. Why would I go to a jungler, right? But I think that's because of a communication issue, really, that they gave away during like all the patch notes and everything. I think they really kind of miscommunicated the aim of the new jungler, and when they implemented the banking, with the creeps bank up, I think that really brought a lot more people back into line because it was a fundamental change. The junglers now were like, oh my god, what the hell do I do? If you miss a counter gank, you're down 2 levels. I mean, that was the general thing. But I'm actually kind of a fan of the new jungle. I'm not a jungler. I'm more of an AD carry myself. But now they've taken out that super important clairvoyance. And more we see supports not actually running clairvoyance anymore. They're now picking up, flash heal or even heal ignite or heal exhaust. I have seen support run heal ignite, and then the carry picked up flash and exhaust, and that way you have that extra little bit of DPS. So I think overall it was a good thing, and I think that continually nerfing flash until we can bring it down to a bit of more of a mitigatable level, because I think we also came with that flash nerf that patch. I think that's also just helping out things immensely. But, so I was a little rocky about it at first. I've personally never seen an issue with the new jungle. But again, I'm not really much of a jungler, so you can take that with a grain of salt.
Let me go ahead and hop in here because this is kind of a question that I got asked earlier, but I'll go ahead and we'll ask it again because I don't know exactly how the quality was. But the way that I want to ask this question is that you look at these companies and these developers that have this huge title and they claim that they are tied to the community and they're taking their suggestions. And like, for instance, I don't know, like Call of Duty, and like, you've got guys like 402 and they're out there and you're like, tell us what you want in the game. What needs to be fixed? What can we do to improve your game, your game experience? And in all honesty, from someone looking from the outside in, Riot is certainly one of those companies. Now, I know that there have been, we were just talking about like the recent patches and, there are updates that people are not always going to agree with. But, I mean, how would you place Riot, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being the best? How well do you think they listen to their community and cater to their needs?
It might not always be transparent, but I do pretty strongly believe, 9 or 10 on that scale. Riot, I mean, they have a lot of players. Their forums have 1 million posts a day. And there's a lot of stuff to sift through. So a lot of the time people are like, well, you're not listening to us, so why do I keep bothering to post here? You're clearly not listening to us because you never answered me. But 1 million posts a day, I mean, they're only human. Like, Rivington is a customer support specialist. He goes through 500 or 600 bug reports a day, or at least reports from people a day about, like, broken accounts. I need my password. I'm reporting this guy, blah, blah, blah. That's just one man, and he does 500 a day. That's respect right there. So it might not always be transparent, but they do listen. And you might not always agree with the changes that they make, or you might not always think that, you're claiming I think it's fine stuff. That's me. Yeah, these guys listen. They evaluate, they listen. They're always doing plays internally, but just some of them can't be transparent. So a lot of people think they're just being ignored. In terms of, I mean, we got the expect. We have more esports coming out, and overall, I think they are meeting the demands of the intelligent people. not just the whiners that say, "Oh, I lost to a character, but she was also beat." You know, that's on you, buddy. That's nothing to do with Riot. I can't help you.
Hold on. I think we're getting Robot Jester again. Hold on a second. We're gonna take a
It's actually perfect with the robotic voice. Okay, I think it's getting a little bit better.
All right, let's try that again. Just pick up where we left off. With Robot.
Quick answer, yes, they do it well. It might not be transparent, and I think they are meeting the demands of the majority of the good results. Not the ones where you gotta keep them out to care of, because that's your fault.
Okay, well, that's awesome, and I do agree. They're pulling in so many people so fast that it would be potentially really hard to get to all the feedback the community gives them, and then to sift through the good feedback, the bad feedback, the trolls, and all of that as such. But also backtracking to way back in the interview when you were talking about casting for games with the After Hour Gaming League. How is that, and how did you get involved in that? I didn't even know till a little while ago that you were even involved in that. I had no idea at all, and that's awesome. Just I remember watching Day 9 do that in the past with all the companies, and tell us a little bit how you did get involved with that and how that is going.
Well, it's not like I was publicly saying, "Hey guys, I'm going to be on this eventually," or "Hey guys, because I was waiting really public release from them, which I don't think actually supporting up. So there was actually a nice bit saying I was involved in this, which is cool. But I really gotta give it to Raise Your Weapon meeting. We're getting emails that they found me to, and they're like, so, you know, are you doing this? What are you, you know, we're talking about that. Like, there's absolutely nothing there, but definitely in there. So they and he's like, "Oh yeah, actually we're about to message you." Like, "Oh really?" Yeah.
Okay,
Sure.
I'm pretty sure you were robotic that entire time.
Help me host it.
Yeah, if everybody else in the call is cool with that, I
Yeah,
don't mind
we're
it.
gonna. I think what we'll do is we'll go down for a second, guys. We'll go down, and then we'll have someone else host, or we'll fix this.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that was.
In a few weeks, I will get time to realize it's right before my eyes, and I
button. All right, hey guys, we're back. Sorry about that once again. You know those interwebs are great when you're flaming one another, but when you want to have a legit, honest conversation, it doesn't want to work. So I forget, in all honesty, where we were. Joel, do you want to just preface it with another question, or?
Actually, I just kind of want to go back to that question. How did you get involved casting those games for the After Hour Gaming League with Day 9 for the League of Legends?
Oh yeah, that was the question, right?
Yeah.
And that was just so you can hear me. You can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
There's no robot?
No robot.
Okay, just interrupt me if I'm going robot, because there's no point in me droning on and on in robot voice.
Okay.
Okay, the AHGL contacted their business partner named Eric Burke. And he's a pretty cool guy. Unfortunately, he was on his honeymoon, so I didn't get an answer for a while. But what happened was I did a scrim between a team named Goose, which was Atlanta's team, against a team called Built Around Mordekaiser, which actually did not contain Mordekaiser, which I made fun of them. Turns out one of the guys in that team was working for Day 9 TV, and he saw my cast, and he's like, dude, you got to cast for the HGL. I'd already asked, Eric, but he's on vacation. He's like, oh, yeah, don't worry. He'll come back. We'll talk to you in the new year. And New Year came around. They're like, so we've been meaning to talk to you because we were going to message you anyways. We have 7 or 8 different people we would like to cast, and you're one of them. I'm like, oh, cool. So I didn't even have to reach out. They knew about me, but I feel better reaching out actually by myself. The people that got me all into that was Raise Your Weapon. And Highwind was actually in your chat for a bit, but he's gone now. So Raise Your Weapon was the ones who pointed out HGL's doing League of Legends in Season 2. From there, I contacted Eric, and then I casted, by pure coincidence, one of their cast members, and from there we created a relationship.
Awesome. I've actually watched a couple of those games, including like the in-houses you did with Google, just kind of for fun. Those are actually really comical just to see them kind of combat in that sense.
Let me go ahead, and I'll go ahead because this is actually something I seen earlier. I just posted a link in the chat. There was this actual thread in the general discussion in the League of Legends forums. This was actually posted on the 19th, so actually not that long ago. And it actually, it's kind of like a community push, commenting about how, the thing that's unique about Riot is that they have their own casters.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's almost like it's not like they're really giving privilege over to one individual or another. But have you actually been contacted by the guys at Riot like, hey, we want you to cast this event, or could you come in and do this for us?
Well, let's see. How many times have I gone on Riot TV or been to the Riot place or worked with Riot at anything? I can count it on one hand because it's a fist. It's 0. I haven't actually worked with them on anything except the National ESL, but that was set up by the National ESL, not Riot. Riot doesn't really talk to me. They don't actually really like me much either.
Really?
It's all the hat, man.
Oh, it's probably because, you know what? It foils all the internet connections. You get that tin foil lined inside of it.
Can't get into my head. Now this, it really is comes down to a few things. Different, perceptions of my appearance. I've never claimed to be a professional caster. That's always what other people put words in my mouth. I'm not a high elo player. I'm not a really deep, insightful guy. But I can tell you why in a cast, why they lost, why something went wrong, why an advantage turned into a deficit, why a surefire win didn't turn out that way. Or maybe it did, because some games are just like that. So I try to bring entertainment to the casts. I'm a big fan of Husky, big fan of Total Biscuit, HD StarCraft, as of like a year and a half ago. They're entertainers. They might not know, every single detail of the game, but that's just how I like my casts. I like to be entertained. If I want to learn something, I'll go read a guide, because I have eyes that can read, unlike some majority of games. But anyways, yeah. So I'm an entertainer. I've been a juggler. I've been a jester, an acrobat, a comedian. since high school. That's just the image I've fostered for myself way before League of Legends. So yes, I do have a Jester hat. Yes, I wore it to MLG. Do you know why? Because Sundance said, build your brand. Be who you want to be. And that's what I was. I brought my hat, I did my shtick, and then I went home happy. So when a professional company like Riot wants to foster esport growth, a Jester hat doesn't really help you in that regard. They want serious casters. They want pros doing deep insight. They want good play-by-play. That's where I come in. But a hat? I can't put that on TV. We want to look serious. So the hat doesn't do me any favors in that regard. But yeah, I mean, we've never really seen eye to eye. I talk to the riders all the time. I have nothing personal ever against any specific rider. Just we have different visual standards, I guess.
Let's go ahead and get a little more in depth about the actual casting process. Now I'm going to ask this question first because I actually have $1 writing on this. Who is your favorite player to watch/cast?
My favorite player to watch or cast.
Remember, there's $1 on the line.
There's $1 on the line. That doesn't sway my vote, does it? $1. My favorite. So that's not even a favorite team. That's a favorite player.
Favorite player.
A favorite player. Well, I gotta say, I think my favorite person to throw into a cast probably be Atlanta.
I lost $1.
Sorry. Who are you riding on?
I actually voted for Hotshot GG.
I don't think I've ever casted a Hotshot GG game.
Really?
Well, okay, that's a lie. National ESL did the Premier League for a while, and CLG was really like the number one ask team. Have I done any Counter Logic gaming since National ESL? I suppose MLG counts because I met him, but no, I don't really do. We don't get along. I don't talk to CLG. They don't talk to me. But Atlanta talks to me. He gives me replays. He jumps into casts and scrims. He's done casting now as well. And the whole picture of a Goose team is very enjoyable to watch. I've seen Atlanta jungle Yi and jungle Graves. It was immensely entertaining. He jungled Graves. He told me afterwards, well, I'm never doing that again. But he did it in a cast, in a scrim that I did. I was very happy. A close second place would be Team Reflex. They give me a lot of material as well. It's very enjoyable to watch them work together. But an overall favorite player would definitely be Atlanta in that regard.
Okay, so we go from the question that we had a bet on to the question that I could possibly be beaten up over. You see Alpha Baby in the stream there. She specifically told me if I did not ask questions about Teemo that I was going to lose my legs. So on behalf of Alpha Baby, I'm trying to remember exactly how she put it. Is Teemo the cutest champion ever?
Little bunny Teemo cannot be beat.
Yeah.
Little bunny Timo.
The Easter Bunny skin.
The Easter. Okay, that's a good point.
I don't think I can beat that. I don't think I can beat that.
I'm trying to think of a different character that could top that, but
Fizz is not cuddly. I'm sorry.
Fizz? Oh, dude, I love Fizz.
Nessa?
I really don't think there is one.
Who's the cutest champion in your opinion?
Who?
Either. I'm talking wife here.
Aha.
You think Jana's cuddly and cute?
You didn't specify. Were you meaning cute sexy or are you meaning cute?
Cute cuddly.
Whoa!
Who?
Annie.
So my wife's opinion here is Annie, but little Easter Bunny Teemo is still my choice.
The chick that summons like a demonic bear and throws fireballs is okay.
My wife is in love with Annie. She loves Annie so much that she dressed up as Annie for Halloween and put me in a bear suit and roasted me all night and called me Tibbers.
Wow.
There was
I
a
thought
whole
my girlfriend liked that character.
Twitter thing of Four-Court Tibbers for a little bit, but
Oh, I also wanted to ask you this. What is your opinion on a FourCourtJester Shaco skin?
I
Should
am
it
all
be
for
done?
it myself.
Are you? Okay. I was thinking about that, and then I saw you tweet something about that the other day, and it popped
Yes.
into my mind that of all the new skins coming out, that one.
Last night we were waiting for the Google teams to get ready because there was twice in a row. Apparently, LA sucks for traffic, but there's traffic issues. So we were waiting on a guy. So I think we started 20 minutes late, and I had the stream going with music, and we were just conversing with all the fans. And they're like, "What happened to the Four-Court Shaco skin?" I was like, "You know what? It really is a skin that I would like to see." And this is how we described it. I would have the Jester hat. Check. Evil glare glasses like on my picture there. Check. In a suit from MLG. Check. Throwing microphones. Check. Planting loudspeakers instead of jack-in-the-boxes. Check. And sandals, because I don't wear shoes ever.
That's awesome.
We think that would be a great skin.
I agree. That should easily be Shaco's legendary skin out of that entirely.
Yep.
So, while on the topic of champions, do you have a favorite champion or type of champion?
For sure.
And who would that be? Who is your favorite champion to play?
I have a very soft spot. And for most people, it's a very hard spot. But I have a very soft spot for Severe.
For Sivir, really? Before or after the remake? Or both? Both?
When I started leveling up, I think I joined National ESL at like level 21 or something like that, right? So there was a lot of criticisms like, why the hell is a level 21 casting? So I really wanted to get up to my level 30. Severe at the time was just one of the random heroes that very much played like Moon Queen from Heroes of Newerth, because she had the bouncing blades and you could throw out just your big nukes.
Uh-huh.
So I played Severe. I bought stuff for Severe. I started creating guides for Severe. Don't ever use any of them because they're all out of date now because of the patches. But I did level 21 to 30 on Severe. I spent 11,000 IP, which I saved from level 1 to 20, got all my tier 3 runes, and started doing every Severe build I could ever imagine. And then they remade her, and I just have so much fun with her. I'm a big AD fan, as I said, in this game. I can do the other roles. I'm not as big on them, but me and my AD in my bottom lane, that's where I live. That's really where I am. And if you go to my YouTube, just type in FourCourtJester Severe, and you will probably find many, 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 many videos, including like my try Tiamat teleport Severe.
That's awesome.
So what you do is you get the Berserker's Greaves, 3 Tiamats for the 100% splash. You get teleport, and then you just keep back to her all day. Or you can go with my 4 Bloodthirsters and Stark's Fervor.
All right, for everybody out there, because I know you're dying for Mohawk Mike's League of Legends strategy. And it's funny because all my friends that I play with, they know that if they ever need me, they know exactly what I'm going to play. So I only get selected in the games. I always play Alistair, and I play mid.
There's nothing wrong with mid Alistar. I got dominated as Mordekaiser as a top lane Alistar just this week.
I love Alistair.
I just, because, well, here's my thing. Like, when I played, when it was in beta, like, you could just came up, the way that you could dictate the lanes, you would have by the time, like, mid-game, I could have, like, 60 minions around me. And then after his, I believe it was back then, I think it was his his Roaring Charge, he could take down towers like there was no tomorrow. And so that was my thing, is that I'm one of those stubborn old guys. I mean, I'm still using Internet Explorer as we speak, which may be the actual cause of our connection problems. I'll take the blame on that one. But, I mean, that's if you want to play like Mohawk Mike, then you play Alistair, you play mid.
Or top.
I see crying
or
faces
jungle.
in the chat.
Snoopy jungles him, man. Like, he is a great support, but he can do other roles.
Double jungle Alistair Blitzcrank is still completely viable.
I'm very bored with jungle Blitzcrank myself, but it might have been because I was 0-0-0 in my runes because Yeah, or
About
mastery's not real.
What about jungling Vigar or Heimerdinger? Because when I'm forced to jungle, that's usually my go-to people.
This is when people ask me, "Can you jungle this?" I just say, "Go look up Stonewall." Yes, you can
Yes,
jungle anything.
he will he will jungle anything. Like,
He will jungle anything.
and
Good
even in
lord.
ranked games, you'll see him and they'll be like, "Okay, we need you to jungle." He'll just be like, "All right, it's the lock Vigar," and they're all like, "Did
What?
he just? Did he mean to do that?" And he does it. It's Internet Explorer 10 beta.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm not. I shouldn't have leaked it, but I'm in there. Get on my level, kids.
I have to say, I'm not actually jealous of
I
that
would
beta.
uninstall IE if I could.
I
I'm a web developer by
think I've
trade.
tried
I
it.
would uninstall Internet Explorer if I could.
That is saying something.
You know what? That's actually a good point. Let's transition into that because I know that's the thing that a lot of people are curious about. When guys start really getting into casting and start getting a little bit of notoriety, how do you juggle your normal life with a casting schedule? Putting up videos, responding to people. For instance, like this interview. Like, did you have to call off like a dinner? How long in advance did you have to plan?
Oh, man, I've had to create myself a calendar just to keep everything straight so I don't double book anything. But what it comes down to is, normally you're in bed by midnight. I'm up at 6. I can't do anything until I get home at 6 p.m. that day. Then it really comes down to, A, is the wife working? If so, entertain self with casting. Is wife not working? Okay, set aside time for wife, otherwise she kills me later. And then explore the rest of the night. Make sure you're in bed by midnight. So you can get anywhere from 0 to 6 hours of casting in per day. It's really volatile. I really got to plan it out and talk to her, and she's very understanding about big events. I'm looking at her right now with a big love symbol, but back because she's right here. She's just browsing the internet. So it's hard. Most people get into it. They're in their mother's basement. They have no girlfriends. They're skipping school. Look at Counter Logic Gaming. They fit all that criteria, and it's very easy for them. They just start streaming. They do whatever they want, whenever they want. They go wherever they want. That's fine. I'm 27 this month, like in February, and I've been married almost 3 years now. We've had a house for 4 years. I've been out of university and into the workforce for 5 or 6 years. I don't even remember anymore. So, it's a very different world. You can't just do what you want when you want and how long you want. No, you really have to schedule it. So she's very understanding. I'm very thankful for my wife and her understandingness of all this. And it really just comes down to scheduling. It's all about time management. They try to teach you that in university if you pay attention. How much studying can you do? How much partying can you do? You got to balance it all out. So it's really still kind of like that. Family life with real responsibilities versus my casting life. So typically,
if your wife used Internet Explorer, would you still love her?
she doesn't because I have her laptop.
I'm just saying hypothetically.
But yes, I would. I would love her even if she used Internet Explorer.
Yeah.
That's love. Then again, my girlfriend has a Mac, and I have to live with that. It's so shameful.
Let's go ahead. Let's transition away from Internet Explorer. Actually, there was a question in the chat. What did she think of you doing 8-hour, a day in-house turning?
She was at work both days.
Oh. Let me ask you about MLG or any live event, because I think that a lot of people don't actually recognize that. When I ever talk to someone who doesn't know about esports and how tournaments run, like we basically what these traditional sports with their season we do in a weekend. And so for you, do you kind of strive off of those live events, for instance, like at MLG this past year, where it's just like nonstop, you're in the booth, you're if you're not here, you're doing something else, you're doing interviews, getting pulled left and right, talking to players. Do you strive off that? Do you love that atmosphere? Or if you had your choice, would you still be at your house setting your own schedule?
I'm very much a talker, and if I'm talking to myself in the basement, not really that much attention gets brought to you. I mean, I'm a jester. I need to be in that spotlight. I need people to listen, but I also want to give them commentary to make them think. I don't want them to be lemmings. So in that regard, you need to kind of reach out to those broader communities And I have absolutely no regrets getting the chance to go to MLG, going to Devastation, which is probably the lesser-known one. But I was at Devastation casting the League of Legends Dominion tournament in Phoenix. And I live in Canada as a reference. So, you know, once you start talking and you get your flock of people and they start spreading the word, you're eventually going to hit some of those bigwigs, which is awesome. But it's even better when they like what you're doing. And, you know, I've not been to an event since October. It's something I kind of itched to keep doing, but once you've had a taste of it, the atmosphere, meeting everyone, the production value was through the roof, and you know all that just really fuels excitement and the desire to keep doing good work out there and keep making those connections, so I can keep going back to those. Now, does she like it when I leave? No, but I phone her every day. She's very understanding. She's awesome.
Partying at the end.
Yeah, except for one time.
Oh, nobody does partying after MLG.
MLG runs a very tight ship. We had the production meeting on the Friday. They fly you out the Thursday. You have their meeting on the Friday because they go live Friday night. And they said, guys, you know, keep it sober, keep it real, because we need your voices, we need your eyes, we need your talents. So keep off until Sunday night. And typically, that's what you do. You keep off until Sunday night, and then you go hardcore.
Sundance buys everybody drinks.
It's more like Twitch TV these days, or Riot, but you know the tasteless parties are legendary. That's what I learned. So you know they big props to them. They've got a very good set of crew members, and they got great talent. And if they're listening, I would love to be part of them again. But you know, if I don't, then I'll just keep doing what I do. I'm not going to shut down because I didn't get to go or anything.
That's it's funny because you know how like lock and key MLG keeps everything. They're very secretive up until that last moment. And there's actually a question here in the chat about. I was going to ask you, have you heard anything? Could you release anything from MLG saying like, hey, possibility we'll have you this year? What are your open schedule? But more specifically, the question here in the chat is, what do you think of the new MLG format, having the four seasons, the 4 leagues, and then do you think what are the chances they'll pick up a MOBA title?
The chances are very good of a MOBA title. Last year alone, Sundance tweeted about all 3 MOBAs at one point or another. Apparently, the partnership with League of Legends came as a little bit of a rush job. That's why Rally was kind of a little bit in shambles. Riot was caught a little bit off guard. It was the PAX that weekend, if I recall, and they had already signed up to that. They didn't want to go live until Providence, which is where much more admittedly a much more solid show happened. So, Riot didn't have to split their production crews. They didn't have to split their support staff. Providence was a very solid event for them, which is good. It pulled in good numbers because you really can't look at Rally for any kind of statistics because we had the tournament realm crash and then the computers were crashing and everything was way overdue. And anyone that was there will know that we stood around for close to 12 hours watching these players play because half the computers wouldn't work and we couldn't stream it because the tournament realm didn't want to talk to spectators. So you can't really look at Rally as any kind of measurable statistics. You really got to look at Providence. And then you got to look at other tournaments that are pulling in these huge numbers. Just today, Kings of Europe, 75,000 people were watching, and it's Tuesday. I mean, it's not even like a big esport event. It's just something they decided to run, and the viewership is there. And you kind of got to be really blind or really, really paid off by someone very rich if you do not want to get a slice of that pie. So I think the chances are very good. I've personally heard nothing. I'd love to work with them if they're listening, but I've personally heard nothing. And you said about the new format. They've only announced it for StarCraft. I have yet to hear anything about a lick of MOBA and how they want to run it this year.
It's very true. Do you believe that they would pick up League and Dota? You mentioned something about Sundance saying all 3 games at some point.
Not at the same time, but
well, yeah. No, of course not. But that would be awesome, though. But
in the literal sense,
yeah. But would trying to think of a good way to phrase this. When Dota 2 is fully released, do you still think they would be leaning towards League with its huge viewer numbers, or do you think they would try something new?
The thing is that right now there's only one known caster for Dota 2. And he's employed by Valve, and his name is Toby, and he lives in Germany.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ja. Lederhosen. Yeah. So as much as Toby would probably love to come out here for an MLG, right now we only have one major tournament to really base numbers off of. And that was the Invitational, the very first tournament, and it drew in 3.5 concurrent million users, which was ridiculous. But you also have to take into account that that was threaded through multiple languages. I think China by itself was 1 million people, and that's Chinese, not English. So in terms of all the other tournaments, we've seen some pretty dreadfully low numbers. We spike 10,000, 20,000 every now and then for Join Dota, which is good. I have nothing against Toby, don't get me wrong. I like the guy. But when it comes to that global scale, we need more data. I don't think... If Dota 2 came out this week, I don't think MLG or really any North American esport company would drop League of Legends at the drop of the hat for Dota 2 because it's untested. We don't have sufficient stream data. There hasn't been enough tournaments to look at. So League of Legends, on the other hand, 2 years now of esports, and now they're hitting 6 digits pretty concurrently and pretty consistently for just ESL, MLG, DreamHack. That's a pretty good record to go by.
Kind of talking about a little bit of the international flavor, there was actually another question here from Ian Fogel. If you could cast any event in the world, what would it be?
It's kind of funny, the timing, because my wife just asked me if I was serious. I was like, I didn't even say anything yet. I know you're playing a game, but the timing was very, very comical. Any event in the world, I would love to go out to an ESL, cast an ESL event. I'd love to work with Joe Miller because we've done Skype stuff before, but I would like to get over to wherever, I don't care, Kiev, Guangzhou, Sao Paulo, Germany, whatever. I would love to go out there, shake his hand, say what a terrific job you've done, let's make some good content. I would love to do that. If not ESL, DreamHack, because DreamHack is just too cool.
You mean how they just get random people because they look good to interview players and don't even know how to announce the name or what game they're playing?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I won't even get into that. But I actually have another question here from another friend. Who was the first champion that you played? And can you give us a specific question to why you played that champion?
I randomed Kog'Maw. It was free Kog'Maw week, and I couldn't understand that every time he died, he became reincarnated and exploded a few seconds later. That was very perplexing to me. I was like, what the hell is... because I kept dying. I was like, oh, maybe I'm not dead. Then I would explode. Like, well, okay, no, I definitely am dead. Yeah, it was Kog'Maw. I randomed him. I was level 1. I went with, I think, Heal Revive or something stupid like that. Because it's like, oh, I can revive. I don't like being dead. And I think I went 17, 3, and 13.
Gentlemen, this is your first hop.
Yeah, I really did not know what the hell I was doing, but neither did anyone else. So, yep.
You say 17, 3, and 13?
Yep.
That's a lot better than what I did. Kog'Maw was actually the first champion I played too. And I remember people yelling at me because I would stand still when his passive went off. And I remember yelling, what the hell is a passive? Because I had come from Dota.
Exactly.
He has a passive skill. I don't see it. And they're like, it's that fifth one. He has 5?
Yeah, no, very similar to the process.
I remember that, except I did not go 17 and 3, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was cool times. Now, my second game, I tanked pretty hard. I went like 4 and 12, and I was still Kog'Maw. So that's when I figured out he blows up when he dies. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds pretty much exactly like my League experience getting into it.
Vanessa's first champion, I think, was Annie. Were you Annie? Yeah, and she just fell in love with Annie. Her desktop background right now is Polar Bear Annie. Or whatever.
Oh, the frosty
Frostfire
one?
Annie?
Yeah, Frostfire or whatever it is.
Yep. I have not ever spent money on League of Legends until Vanessa demanded a skin for Annie. That's the only money I've ever spent on this game, and it wasn't even for me. That's how much she loves her Annie. But yeah, Kog'Maw for me. It was good times.
Awesome.
We have another question here. Actually, let me go ahead and say real quick, we're going to be wrapping up here shortly, guys. If you could, though, if you have any last-second questions, let us know, and we will get everything knocked out here. Because we certainly want to hear questions from you guys. I mean, I know you want to hear me talk about, Duke Nukem Forever and how awesome the multiplayer is. But, we have Jester was nice enough to join us here. And all my Internet Explorer love. So, anyway, let's get... visibly, do you think that there are big differences between the American and European scene?
There's a huge difference between those two scenes. Do you want the short? I'll give you the short answer. The short answer is it comes down to the attitude towards the game.
Mm-hmm.
We see North American top pros streaming every day. We see them trolling every day. We see the Trash Man Wars and TSM, getting drunk in tournaments with your stream on, showing everyone up. We see people raging hardcore and getting banned on their streams because they are literally ruining the game for many people. How often do you see that in the EU scene? Very slim to none.
Not very often.
The trolling, yes, and the rage, yes, but they don't intentionally ruin games. They don't get drunk on stream. They practice. They scrim. They have a healthy respect for each other, at least in the perceivable eye, which is what sponsors look at. NA, they don't need sponsors at this point. They make enough money streaming that they can continue doing this. But when it comes down to tournaments and professionalism and sponsors and a good image, I gotta go with the EU teams. I really do. That's my personal opinion, of course, but that's how I perceive the differences between them. Attitude towards the game.
It's kind of funny because I'll kind of add on that is, I remember back in the day, I followed Counter-Strike. I was huge into Counter-Strike. And, the American scene, it was all about Team 3D, those guys and everything they did. And I'm like, oh, I want to party like them, and I want to be a great team, and I want to fly around the world. And whereas the European guys were all just so, they just walk on stage and they're just class. They get in, shake hands, play their game, and get out. And that's, I think it's kind of the same, the same that even now I look at it, you look at MLG events versus ESL events, which, different games, different atmospheres. But I think there definitely is, a different flavor between events. Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. What was the first video game you ever played?
Oh God, I wouldn't be able to tell you the name of it. My father, I've been tinkering with computers ever since I can remember. I moved to Canada when I was 2. I was born in Phoenix. Moved here when I was 2. By the time I was 5, my father was employed by where I currently work, believe it or not, York University here in Toronto. And Dad would always be bringing home new computer equipment so he can continue his teaching, his research, and all that. We had ourselves a nice one-piece Mac with something like 100 kilobits of RAM and maybe 100 megabytes of space.
This is where you break out the Tim Allen, the old Home Improvement. Arr, arr, arr.
Exactly, yeah.
What a beast.
Indeed, yeah. I can't do the voice, but I understand the imagery, yeah. I'm very proud of my old schoolness there. And my father was a big Dungeons & Dragons fan. Gary Gygax. He actually met my mom at a science fiction club, believe it or not.
Ooh.
So, I kind of got that nerdiness ingrained in me. And he had a game spanning, I kid you not, 54 5.25 floppy disks. That was a Dungeons & Dragons, very simplistic, text-based with very sparse graphics in it, Dungeons & Dragons game. I could not for the life of me figure out how to play it, but when I did, that was the first game I ever played. And I'd be damned if I can ever get you the name or any screenshots.
Wow.
I actually think I know what that is.
I was 5, I believe. That was my first game. Now, we got a PC eventually, and, the old i348s or 344s, or maybe it's the 388s, 48s, 588s. We didn't even have Intel processors back then. Like, it was all just still all Hertz and everything. Like, dual core? No, that was a distant dream in some guy's eye.
That was when you just took two computers and duct taped them together.
Right. That's exactly what you double the power. They're like turtles. You just put them together and they're unstoppable. So the biggest game that I can remember, at least the one that had the most impact on me, was Warcraft, Orcs and Humans. That was a superb game in my opinion back in the day. It was massively entertaining, and that really got me hooked on strategy games. 2 years later, Warcraft 2 came out, and I decided I'm working for Blizzard when I grow up. That's how awesome these games are to me. And they are pretty much my earliest positive memories with video games, is those Warcraft series. We had some more Dungeons and Dragons in there. We had like Eye of the Beholder 1 through 7. There's a ridiculous amount of games like that. And I had like the Command & Conquer series resides very nicely in my memory, R.I.P. Westwood. And yeah, I grew up on Command & Conquer and Warcraft. Eventually, StarCraft came out in grade 6, and I played the hell out of that game for years. Warcraft 3 came out. I didn't have a computer that could run it. So I bought a laptop for $3,000 in my first year of university so I could play the damn game without lag, without visual ouchiness. And then World of Warcraft, and then that, history from there is kind of fuzzy for the next 7 years. But eventually I got back out of that, resumed my Dota, and came back into all this. But you can really give my big passion directly to Blizzard at Warcraft, Orcs, and Humans.
Let me go ahead and let's take a little side tangent there, because you mentioned, I mean, I know that it's a dark patch in your history, playing World of Warcraft and all. But here's
dark. I would just say I didn't do anything else.
I meant dark like you sitting in your basement dark. And I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Mr. X101, he's been in the stream the whole time. And he's actually communicated about Bloodline Champions, which, for those of you who don't know, is basically it's straight, WoW PvP, but it's actually made to be balanced in, a legit, multiplayer game. Have you played it?
I've casted it.
Oh,
That's actually became a fan of mine.
See, I was unaware.
Bloodline Champions is, I think, now a year old. But it came out last year, and I was just sitting down. I was playing Halo at the time with my wife, and I had in the background some random stream open that was the one cast with Tazosaurus. And those were the two commentators for Borderland Gaming, and they were doing a series called Kill the King for Bloodline Champions. It's like, oh, I've heard of Bloodline Champions, that big PvP game. And I had actually started playing it that week. So I was just listening to it so I could get a bit more of a feel of the casting, as well as see how you're supposed to play the damn game, because it's so fucking hard to play that damn game. It's very, very punishing. You think Dota and Han are hard? Try Bloodline Champions. That's like another hardcore step. But it's meant to be competitive. So, they're talking a miles a minute, and they're getting all these pro players, and they're like, wow, that is a lot of hype. I excel at play-by-play. I think I could do this. And then one week, Cast said, crap, Tazosaurus is sick. I'm going to kill myself with my voice. And I said, hey, I'll help you out. He said, fine, sure, whatever. And people liked it. Mr. X liked it. He's been talking to me ever since. And we did a whole lot of months of Bloodline Champions. And it's a really fun game. I cannot say enough good things about it, but unfortunately there's just no player base for it. It's just too harsh and unforgiving for majority of people to get into, even though it's built directly for esports. It's really a big shame. But, yep, Bloodline Champions. I give it a good thumbs up, and I've casted it, I've played it, I suck at it.
Yep. Joel, do you have any other questions, any last things to wrap up?
No, I do believe he's answered all my questions and more that I had for him.
Let's go ahead. Last second in the chat. Anything else? I mean, because I can talk about Internet Explorer some more.
Don't ask him about Internet Explorer.
I know all the functions. I can tell you about 10. It's touch base. Not really joking. You're knowing all the...
Halo 3, for sure.
Oh!
For the favorite Halo game. That was definitely Halo 3.
Do you recall what your highest rank was?
43, I think.
Oh, and it's specific game type, or?
Team Slayer. So ranked Team Slayer, 43. I got to 42 in SWAT, but after you get like past 40 in SWAT, it's just all hackers.
I think it's like that in every playlist.
Yeah. We play a lot of not ODST. We hated ODST. We play a lot of Reach, don't we, love? And now Combat, the Combat Anniversary Edition. I got that for my wife for Christmas, and we've been playing that as well. Yeah. The only FPS really that's ever stuck with me in my life is Halo. I don't know why.
Right, and this is, I think it's only fitting that this is a good question to leave off of. Jester, what are your plans for the future?
For the future? Not too sure how much I can say, but I'm still talking to various companies about events, live person events. I still got my weekly stream stuff. I got weekly tournament stuff. Again, Riot doesn't really talk to me much, so, is anything going to happen between us? I don't know, maybe. So we got a whole year to figure that out. But at this point, everyone I'm talking to is all independent. And I'm actually looking at a review process with a very prestigious company for a full-time casting position. But I can't name names.
Oh.
I've thrown in the app. It's all on them. I have no more input in the matter. But it could be a very good year, or I might just never leave home and keep doing everything from my basement. Either way, I'm going to continue, at least until something else catches my fancy.
Awesome.
Alrighty, guys. Well, first off, I want to say thank you once again to Jester for coming in and talking with us. Also, another quick reminder, our sponsor, iHeart Esports, is giving away stickers to those of you who follow us on Twitter. So follow at BossFightTV and at iHeart Esports, and mention that you watched the show. Use the hashtag BFTV Live, and we'll get you some of those awesome stickers out there. And I just see stickers. I thought that was a question, but it just says stickers, 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 stickers. Also, while you're at it, go ahead and follow at FourCourtJester. Keep up with all of his activities, streaming, video content, making, just getting out there and being full force for the MOBA scene. Joel, I will go ahead and pass it off to you if you have any last questions. And thank you from my end.
Nope, I do believe that is it. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Jester, do you have any last words you'd like to say to everybody before we go?
If anybody works at Facebook, I need to reassign my FourCourtJester handle from my personal account to my fan page, which is made. So I think people keep saying I need more likes on that. So if you guys could help me out on that regard, that would be awesome. Just go into the Facebook, search FourCourtJester, and find the fan page, hit the like button, help me out, because I don't know. I've never really been a fan of the whole Facebook UI, but either way, I'm stuck with it now. But Twitter, you can always find my updates there. Is that how we got a hold of this? Or no, you messaged me through Twitch.
Yes.
So you find me on Twitch as well, Twitch TV FourCourtJester. I can tell you right now, on Tuesday, February 7, from 6 p.m. till at least 10, if not longer, I will be doing the launch party of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning for Steam. And that will be awesome. So, yes, that's my next big thing, I guess. I also got Fnatic TV this weekend, so we're going to be talking to Cyanide about the jungle. So that's cool. And I think maybe AHGL next week. I haven't been told. But either way, you can always find my stuff on Twitter, on the Facebook, on the YouTubes, and on the Twitch. So thanks again for the interview. It was fun. Only took us 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, plus with all the technical difficulties and robotic sounds and all that good stuff that just comes along with being on the internet. So thank you for being here with us, though, and thank you, everybody, for watching. I do believe that will be it for tonight. So tell your friends about the video. Shout out to Jester's wife. Go check him out on Twitter and Facebook, and, of course, check us out at BossFight.tv. Thank you.
Internet Explorer rules.
see.